Hello everybody, it's day 9. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Today it's probably 30 degrees out here. It was a little windy, but it's a beautiful day. And today we're going to talk about how do you become a millionaire. And I know everybody's thinking like, yeah, right, you can't, nobody's going to be able to become a millionaire and all this other stuff, right? But I'm telling you right now, it is possible. And I'm going to share with you my story and how I became a millionaire. And so we'll go ahead and start into it. But basically, my family, grew up in very humble beginnings. And both my parents were raised by a single mom. And so whenever you have that, of course, you're going to have some financial difficulties, right? So both my parents grew up, fairly poor. My mom especially, and my dad really didn't have any guidance on how to manage money and how to save money, net worth, any of that stuff. So my dad was great, but he just wasn't great with money. So, so that's a little bit about that. And when I grew up, I was basically always worried about if I was going to have a house over my head. So it was those type of situations, right? My dad just didn't pay the bills, or things like that were difficult for a kid. And you kind of learn these things, and then you just kind of spend your money as your parents did. And so for many years that's what I kind of did. Just kind of bought new cars. I always had like a new car or something like that, but I didn't have any net worth. And I just, I did start a 401k, but I didn't really, understand it that much. I just kind of put money in there, and I just kind of looked at the future like, I'll never be rich. And, I just seemed like 20 years was a long way away, as an 18-year-old, to be able to have any kind of substantial money growth. And that's just how I thought, right? But anyways, that's kind of my backstory, and how I was with money in the beginning. And then I had a traumatic experience happen to me where I got a staph infection, almost died, and I had this epiphany that I was just like, oh my God, what is going to happen if I die? What's going to happen to my kids and my family? And at that moment, I realized I didn't have any kind of a net worth. And although I do have life insurance and things like that, I just didn't have any kind of money saved up or anything like that. I was in debt. I had a second mortgage on my house. It was pretty much maxed out. I had car payments that were just going to keep on coming in if something happened to me. And I just was living paycheck to paycheck basically. And I needed to make a certain amount of money in order to pay all that stuff. So this was back maybe 12 years ago that this happened. And I was like, well, yeah, I have money in my 401k, but it wasn't where it needed to be honest. I actually even had to take a loan out from my 401k during a time when I was having a custody battle with my other ex-wife. So yeah, wasn't in a good spot. I had this friend, Jewish guy, and that I worked with, and I was talking to him one day about finances and things like that, and he kind of shared like where he's at, and I was just like, whoa, he's got $1 million here, he's got $1 million there, man, he's all set up, man. So that kind of sparked me to be like, I need to do something different. So I started looking at the stock market, I also took a job where they automatically put 10% of, they put 10% extra into my 401k over and above what I already did. So I was doing 10, they were doing 10, so basically I was getting 20% in my 401k of my current salary. So that was a benefit too. But yeah, so anyways, those things helped, and I decided that I wanted to get into the stock market because that's what my friend did. I was like, man, I want to be rich like this dude, right? So I started looking around stocks. I was on Facebook, and I hated Facebook. I kept on trying to delete it and get off of it, but I couldn't get off of it. And it just seemed like it was always bringing me back. And I was like, you know what? I bet there's other people out there like that use it every single day. They're addicted to it. And I said, well, maybe I'll invest in it. So I started putting money into it when it was really down low. I mean, like super down. I was like, there's no way this is going to stay down. It didn't stay down. I kept on putting money into it over and over. And eventually it doubled. Then it tripled. And then it quadrupled. And it just kept on growing. So that was a major catalyst of income growth for me. Taking a chance, which I felt like was a good educated guess on a stock that I thought that was going to grow. Then other things like I didn't want to have any debt. I didn't like having car payments. I didn't like having that second mortgage. It was sucking my money, and I just didn't want to have that anymore. So I started a plan. And what I did was I took the lowest bills that I could pay off the quickest, and I started just chunking money, like extra money, on that bill. Then I get that one paid off, and then I go to the next one, and then to the next one, until I had them all paid off. So then I had all my debt paid off except for my house. So then it's just like, wow, man, I got all this extra money, start chunking it onto my house. And so I started paying down on my house also. So you just got to kind of have a tiered approach, in my opinion. And I think a lot of the advisors out there, on the internet will advise the same thing. They don't usually advise to invest first, like Dave Ramsey, and I think he's more like, just get your debt paid off first, then you invest. Well, I saw an opportunity, I couldn't pass it up, and I thought this is the time for me, so that's what I did. So, then, I said, well, you know what? The mortgage payment is so low, it's lower than most people's rent. I said, I'm just gonna kind of leave that there for now. I already have a tremendous amount of equity because I paid it down so much, and my house went up in value, so I was like, I'm good there. If something comes up, I could always just sell it. So I had I had equity in my home, a good amount of equity, and so I felt comfortable with that. And then I started investing more into stock. I invested into Amazon, which also made me a lot of money. It was down at the time, and I made some very good money off of that. And then I also invested in Tesla and Nvidia. So all these stocks have paid off pretty well for me. And they're kind of up and down right now. I'm kind of I've invested a little bit more into Tesla, because I see a lot of great things that are going to come about that I don't think people are really thinking about. This whole robot thing, and the Cybertruck, and all the different things they're doing, the software that they have with the FSD, I just think are going to be game changers, and just their production and how they produce vehicles are just all game changers. But yeah, so I invested in them as well. But the other thing is that it's not about making the right investments only. right? It's about consistency in trying to reach a goal. You know, just like my fitness journey here and mental journey, you know, I have to consistently do my workouts in order to lose fat and get skinnier. So, but if I don't do it, I'm just going to stay fat, right? And it's the same thing with your finances. You have to be consistent. If you're paying off bills, you got to be consistent every single month, right? And if you're doing your lawn, right, you have to be consistent. If you go water it one day, and then maybe the next day you do some fertilizer, and that's all you do, your grass is going to turn brown, up here at least. It's just not going to grow. So with anything, you have to have consistency. You have to make a plan, just like I did for my fitness and finance. And these things are going to help you achieve your goals. So consistency of, you know, your efforts will help you get rich. So my advice for you, if you're a young person or any, you know, it doesn't really matter, honestly. I would say, in order to become a millionaire, pay off your debt slowly but surely, as much as you can. Don't go out and buy the new cars. As you can see, I have a 99 Porsche. I never bought another vehicle for me. I bought it for my soon-to-be ex-wife. Bought her, you know, nice vehicles. Like the nicest, right? I mean, but, you know, I always kind of, you know, I have my goals. I make good money. I could buy a nice car. I could buy a brand new Porsche if I wanted to. Brand new Ferrari if I want to. But it's not going to help me get to my goal, right? So, you know, you have to, you know, pay off your debt. Don't go out and buy the most expensive cars while you're on this journey. If you really want to be rich, then you have to do this. You know, you have to suffer a little bit, just like I am on this workout, right? It's not easy getting up this morning, you know, cold and, you know, going out working out. But, you know, I know if I do this, I'm going to have results. And you will too. In anything you do, finances or whatever you do. So, you know, that's one thing I would say. You know, make sure that you try to pay off that debt slowly but surely, as much as you can. Don't go out and buy new cars. And then, maybe find an investment that you're interested in. Maybe it's a new stock or whatever. But the goal is to, so let me explain net worth to you a little bit. So what is net worth? So basically when you start out, you have nothing, right? You know, you have a zero net worth. Well, let's just say you go out and buy, you know, a car, right? Your car gets stolen and now you have a bill for $10,000. Well, you would basically have a negative net worth of $10,000. I mean, it's just a kind of a crazy example, but you know what I mean. You know, if you're in debt, you have, you know, you don't have a net worth. Another example could be like, hey, you know, I bought a car, $10,000 car, and it's worth $11,000. Well, you could sell that car and you would have $1,000 net worth. So that's a little bit better example. So the goal is to increase your net worth. So you pay off your debt, then you kind of start off at zero. But if you have cars and things like that, let's say you paid off your car, it's $15,000, it's worth $15,000, and you have, you know, you pay it off, you have a net worth of $15,000. So that's a good starting point, right? But then you start putting money away, maybe into your stocks, into your 401k. This is all increasing your net worth. So it is where you want to be at, right? Just consistently increasing your net worth. Now, one of the things a lot of people don't understand is like interest, you know, interest grows, right? So you put money in and then that interest grows each month. And I can kind of give an example of that. on how money grows. I'll put it as a picture here. And you can see how money can grow even if you didn't even put anything into it. Or like a percentage, like maybe your stock consistently grows 10% every year. Or maybe it's 15%, maybe it's 30%, whatever it is, right? And you can see how that money grows. So you got to find a good investment, one that's going to get you the most percentage of increase each year or interest, and that's going to help you get to your goal even faster. It's almost like you got somebody else working for you. Now that's the other thing, you know, like I mentioned, I had a company that I worked for that had we had a 401k, and then they also contributed money into my 401k. Most places will do 3%. Others will do an additional 10%. Some will even do 15 or 20%. So that can benefit you, greatly. Just having that extra money. Let's say like you make $200,000 a year, and you're putting in 10%, so that's $20,000 a year. And then they're putting in 10%. That's another $20,000. So now you're putting in $40,000 a year into your 401k. Now that grows very quickly. That's not even counting in money that you're making off of that money, right? So maybe you're on the let's just say the SPY stock, S&P index, basically. That money can grow 10%, 12%, 15%, every single year on top of that money that you're already putting in. So yeah, it grows very fast, and it will make you rich very fast. So I would say depending on where you're starting at, you got to pay off debt and all that stuff. But once you get all your debt paid off and you get into a spot, I would say probably 10 years, you can pretty much get to that $1 million pretty easily. And I know 10 years seems like a lot of time, but just think about it. Let's say you're 18 years old, 19 years old. You're not going to be 30 years old. That's very young to be a millionaire. And that's something that you actually have control over. Just like your fitness, So, it's something you have control over, something that you can actually do to achieve what you want. So I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of financial advice today, and hopefully it helps you, and you get to your goals and become a millionaire. All right, guys, we'll see you next time.